Tuesday, June 19th, 2018. This time I'd like to move to a roll call, please.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilwoman Gussie?
Here.
Councilmember Manfredi?
Here.
Councilmember Wade?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Vice Mayor Chapados?
Here.
Mayor Price?
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. That'll take us to item 3.1. We're going to review any items on the regular city council meeting agenda. And remember, council, we do have two meetings this evening. We have the special meeting for the budget and the budgetary hearing, as well as the regular city council meeting agenda. But this is primarily to review the agenda that is the regular, which is usually dealing with consent items. So any questions on the regular city council meeting agenda this time? Yes, Councilmember Gussie.
Mayor, I'd like to remove from consent 9.1 and 9.4. These are two items that deal with Arizona State University. So as an employee of Arizona State University, I'd like to
Recuse?
recuse myself
Okay.
from those two.
Perfect, thank you. So we'll remove those to the regular so that we can have a separate vote on from a recusal standpoint. So thank you for letting us know. Appreciate that. Anything else at this time? Okay, seeing nothing, we will go ahead and move on. That'll take us to item 3.2. Mayor and council shall report on meetings and/or conferences attended by the council at this time. Council, time is yours. Councilmember Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have just a couple items to talk about. Yesterday evening, I went to the after fire report, the fire there, what's your street? Vice Mayor, Councilman Brown. What is your street?
Maricopa Avenue.
Yeah, Maricopa Avenue, of course. And the firefighters were able to give us an update on what happened, gave us kind of a blow by blow on what took place. One of the things, or several of the things that was really impressive is the amount of time it took from the time that they got the call to the time they got on the scene and started fighting the fire. It was within minutes, about 5 minutes of the time that the first 911 call came in. And the teams, all the teams were there, talked about what they did, encouraged community members that were there to pay attention to their homes as well, fire extinguishers, replacing batteries in the fire alarm system, in their fire alarms. But one of the things that they emphasized more than anything is that in the event of a fire, get out of the house. That was the most important thing. They are equipped to go in and do things that need to be done. They recommend that you get out of the house and let them do their job. Something that surprised me was the amount of time that they indicated how long it might take for a fire to devastate a home. And it's a very short period of time, about 15 minutes. And so knowing that as well, it would still be even more important to get out of the house. They passed out some fire extinguisher at work pamphlets, also after the fire, the things that you do after the fire. I think if we can get some of these and pass them out around the community where I think that would be helpful. So I was appreciative of the time that they spent with us and how meticulous they were about what took place, Chief. And they did you proud. And one of the things I was most concerned about was the compassion that they show when they show up in a situation like that. Someone's losing their home or a devastating situation, and how much compassion and concern that they show for the family members. I thought that was great. Also on today is Juneteenth, is actual Juneteenth. Juneteenth actually is a celebration of when the Emancipation Proclamation finally made its way out west. It was the 19th of June that happened, and no, excuse me, out to Texas, that's correct. When it made it to Texas, it was the 19th of June that it happened, and then the slaves actually knew that the Emancipation Proclamation existed and that they were free. There was a celebration Saturday at Pecana Park. A group of community members put on a Juneteenth celebration, which was outstanding. They had Phoenix Stepper, young people's Stepper Club there. They had games for the kids, catfish, DJ, all the accoutrements of a wonderful family picnic. It was a great atmosphere. So I want to thank Jelani and his team of merry men that put that together, because it was really very good. And if you hear about it coming up next year, make sure that you attend. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all that I have.
Thank you much. Appreciate it, Councilmember. Who else this time? Vice Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor. On June 8th, we attended the ribbon cutting of our newest retail business here, Dunkin' Donuts. For those of you who had the opportunity to go and partake of the donuts, they were estimating they were going to go through 400 dozen donuts that day, We all told them they're probably going to run short because people were buying 1 and 2 dozen at a time, but it was a very nice opening, so that was good to see. On the 13th of June, I attended Meet the Information for the City Council candidates here at City Hall. It was facilitated by City Manager Sorensen and also our City Clerk Vanessa Bueras. They did a great job. Most of the candidates that are running for City Council were in attendance. They got some great information. They got a chance to ask questions. Our 2 incumbents participated in that. So I wanted to thank both Vanessa and Tricia for doing that. And then last Friday, I accompanied the mayor to Globe, Arizona for the latest ADOT meeting. This was an important meeting because they approved their 5-year plan for their budget. That's what happened to us a couple years ago when we got our 5-year plan in for the overpass project. But I want to make a special mention to one of the board members, Steve Stratton, called out the city of Maricopa and recognized us for bringing money to the table. And that's the way that people expect things to happen right now. There's a lot of projects that don't get funded. There's a lot of projects that get requested. And he specifically called out the city of Maricopa to say, you guys, you came to the table with money. You were persistent in your ask. You let us know how important this project was to you. And now they're encouraging other cities to follow suit as to what Maricopa did. So just want to thank the mayor for letting me tag along. And it was a very nice reception the night before. They gave us a tour of their old courthouse, which is now an art space and a performance space. And also they took us through their old jail, which was pretty interesting. So very nice time in Globe. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Anyone else this time? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to item 3.3. We're going to hear a presentation on the current development process for commercial development. Turn the time over to the planning group, Rudy, Martin, Kazi. Thank you.
If you recall, a couple months ago, we did this type of exercise on the subdivision development process. Now we're going to do a quick briefing on the commercial process itself. Just to reiterate our objectives of this exercise for the past year or so that we've been somewhat analyzing is to evaluate the process. We want to find areas of consolidation and also utilize this exercise to also educate our public, to citizens, businesses, developers, all walks of life in a way to understand how we can further convey that message of what our development process is. What I'll be explaining today in tonight's presentation is 2 types. One is a large, small-scale type commercial, generally new construction or new construction from the ground floor, or adding of new buildings on site itself. The second type of development is we call an adaptive reuse commercial, which we have that type of project or type of profile in the Heritage District. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but I think we're going to highlight the opportunities that are available of what we've done with the 2014 code of how we can utilize existing buildings in the Heritage District for commercial purposes on a small scale level. So jumping into the large or small scale commercial, when I say large or small scale, our new zoning code that we adopted 4 years ago now cut away the levels of process when it comes to approval. 5,000 square feet threshold is considered, anything above that requires basically a public process. Planning and Zoning Commission, in 2014, we kind of removed City Council out of the picture, and we kind of gave more confidence to our commission board to be responsible of approving commercial site plans. So the 5,000 threshold limit is a threshold for anything above that requires a public process, and it just goes straight to P&Z Commission. Anything less than 5,000 square feet in size is administrative process. So in this case, on our restaurant on Edison and John Wayne, that was a 5,000 square foot building that went to the P&Z Commission. If you may have heard through our updates that we have a small coffee kiosk that's about 800 square feet, that's actually an administrative process. So again, it's applicable to new construction and new added structures on the site. And as I kind of iterate in the last presentation a couple of months ago, it's almost a 3-step process to this. The pre-application is where we always start off, and we hit hard with anyone that's coming into Maricopa to rest assured that they understand what the development process is, and they understand what we want to say hurdles, but these are the potential challenges that they may foresee that they can easily address early in the design stage versus it being addressed in the building construction stage. So we always hit hard with anyone that's coming into Maricopa for a business or developer to understand that the pre-application is where we're always going to sit down and discuss those major hurdles, and we do our best to make sure that they understand that and we convey that properly. After pre-application, your basic zoning entitlement, and after that, your building construction stage. Reiterate, I don't want to go into too detail, but it's basically what I explained to you last time. The process does include the pre-application, an internal meeting, and a meeting with the applicant for a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. The green is represent the submittal requirements. The purple box, the purple font is the reviewers, and basically what happens at that meeting with the applicant. Following after the pre-application, we never know how, we actually get about 50 plus pre-applications a year. Sometimes it's been a lot more recently. Most of the time they never pan out. And we do that, that's because sometimes some of these developers and businesses just don't, it's great that we've done the due diligence and they recognize that that site's not feasible, so they come in to a drawing board. But between the pre-app and this part, it's just there's no time frame when they come back. We see them within a year or 2 years. If it's been 2 years, we're going to ask them to kind of resubmit that pre-application because one, we may know that the site has changed. There's been new requirements, or, for example, some sites may have new flood issues itself. This whole process starts with the application being submitted, routed for review. It's submitted internally to our technical advisory committee. Our review is completed. Or excuse me, if it's above that 5,000, in theory, it reduces the time frame for at least 30 days. And after that, P&Z commission. So what I just explained to you was just a building that is above 5,000 square feet. That we place after approval within 2 years, that development plan is executed with building permit being submitted. Haven't run into that. It does not comply for a zoning entitlement for a major above 5,000 square feet. But in addition, this is only with the notion that we have a developer or an applicant that's giving us good information. We're getting good information back and forth. They're at least addressing the comments, and they're not. And it's kind of considered at risk while the building permit or the plan is being finalized through that final review process. The system, we'll make sure we're finding in the Heritage District. It's an existing building. It's not a new construction. It's not adding building. It's just a regular site that has an existing building on site. The proposal is a low impact type of business. No additional structures, etc. So with the Heritage District, what we formulated in 2014 is that we are allowing, through the mixed-use heritage, for these type of residential lots to be converted to low-impact type businesses, where we envision that type of building being somewhat improved through curb appeal, a low-impact type of use. It kind of goes well with the neighborhood and doesn't really disrupt the neighborhood. These are the ideas that we envision, and a lot of cities are doing this type of program with redevelopment areas where you can utilize the existing building and reuse it for a commercial small business itself. Just for example, that specific lot actually went through this exercise of adaptive reuse, and this is the finalized site plan that's out there, where the building's in gray, the dark gray area is your parking lot, which is not a hardscape parking lot. It's actually a dust mitigated parking lot. Similar, when we say dust mitigated, if you go to any model home complex in Maricopa parking lot, like one of our builders, you'll notice they have a compacted DG parking lot. And that will be acceptable under the mixed-use heritage. So what we're achieving here is that we can allow businesses to go in there, and we've been kind of coining the phrase that these are somewhat small incubator potential spaces that can be reutilized fairly quickly because of our lack of inventory retail space out there. This is an opportunity we see that businesses can maybe transition out of home-based businesses into legitimized commercial address type businesses. So this is a good example where we see where we can relax those standards but still get businesses to utilize existing homes. Just want to give you some other examples or some other snapshots that, again, this is not a kind of trial. It has been done with a lot of cities, Arizona and nationwide, where you see a lot of houses such as these being converted to small, low-impact commercial businesses. And I just want to make mention, if it's called adaptive reuse program. So we've developed a flyer. We're trying to get this out, the word out. And when it comes to the life safety codes, that's always kind of like the mindset of our rule. Generally, anything that converts to a business occupancy is required to have a automatic fire sprinkler system. Well, and that's very costly to any type of business that wants to improve an existing home. With the program, we have developed exceptions when it comes to life safety. So, for example, we can work with the building codes, we also work with the fire code. So in criteria, basically anything that's less than 5,000 square feet or less is not required to have a fire sprinkler system. And that's only for the Heritage District area, with the exception that the occupancy does not store or handle any use hazardous material, all cooking appliances are removed, and the installation of somewhat of an alternative type of fire alert system, which is a smoke detection or carbon monoxide alarm system that does the same job as, and that there's this type of project. We know that this area, especially complies or does not comply in this. I want to note that construction, and again, that's something that we can expedite that, with the building construction and the zoning, but I think it's short enough already. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Council, questions on the process? Nothing?
Cool.
Nobody?
Nice. I'll be more than happy to share this file. I think you have it in your Legistar. But what we want to do is to refine ways to consolidate with internal flow charts.
That leaves us a little bit of time. Council,